Hypercell Technologies. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the time. My name is Sam Jactel. I'm the co-founder and COO at Hypercell Technologies. I'm joined here today by my dad, Dr. Bruno Jactel, who is our co-founder and CEO. I'll do the hard part, and then I'll bring him afterwards to answer some questions. At Hypercell, we're developing rapid pathogen tests to build a safer food chain. If you are a Mexican food fanatic like me, November of 2015 was a dark time. Chipotle actually had a massive outbreak of E. coli throughout the Pacific Northwest that translated into 1,100 cases of either illnesses or hospitalizations. And in the 4 days that it took for them to send a test and get the results back to identify that it was in fact E. coli and that the source was lettuce, they lost 25% of their market cap, almost overnight. Unfortunately, examples like Chipotle are not, one in a dozen. This happens on a regular basis. And Hypercell was built on purpose to address this issue. Today, 1 in 6 Americans will get ill every year. That's 45 million Americans from the food that we eat. There's 7 judges here. One of you is the lucky winner. Needless to say, at Hypercell, we believe that food should be safe. And let me tell you why we think that our food chain today just isn't cutting it. It's our testing. So if you guys recall from the COVID days, you swabbed your nose, you sent it to a central lab that had some fancy people running fancy machines, PCR, and then they'd send you the results back. They were really expensive, and they took forever to get back to you. And in the meantime, you didn't really know what to do. And unfortunately, our current food testing ecosystem utilizes that same technology and has those same issues. And what that translates to is we just don't test enough. We don't test at the farm. We don't test from the farm to the facility. We test a little bit when the food comes into the facility. We definitely test when the food is built and done and ready to ship, but we're waiting for results so long that oftentimes food just gets shipped without results coming back. And that translates to illnesses, to recalls, and then at the end of the day, a lot of food waste. Hypercell has built a PCR in a box. We don't believe that the current testing technology is cutting it, and so we want to make a difference. Hypercell can provide results in 60 minutes instead of multiple days. We are a fraction of the cost of PCR. And most importantly, we can be utilized in the facility instead of a centralized lab model. We then democratize access to the data, and all of this with the underlying assumption, and we have data to prove this, that we have the highest level of accuracy. So here's how it works. You take your sample, you swab your carcass, you do whatever. You put it into this little tube. It has our proprietary reagents inside it. Shake it up, stick it in the box, close the top, and you get a green light when it's ready. With this technology, we're building the next iteration of food safety testing in this country. With faster, more frequent testing of our entire food chain, upstream and downstream, we can create safer food. And this isn't just a vision. We're doing this today. So Hypercell has developed tests that address the highest cost and highest risk pathogens, that's Salmonella and E. coli, as well as a long pipeline of additional pathogens that we'll be launching in the next few years. We've been able to identify those in some of the highest risk sources of those pathogens. That includes meat, dairy, packaged foods, fruit, and veg. And we've built a platform that has a moat around it, which I think is quite important in the startup world. We have 12 inventions that have been protected by patent applications. We've done rigorous testing in the lab and in the facilities and in the farms with our customers, which I'll talk about later. We have a proprietary device, and we are well on our way through regulatory approvals. The speed, the accuracy, and the full end-to-end food chain visibility that we provide to food manufacturers translates to direct, measurable, immediate benefits. No more recalls, reduction of idle time of the production chain, increased shelf life of the final product, and direct one-to-one, apples-to-apples savings on tests. And for customers like JBS, which is the #1 meat packer in the world, that does swine and beef and poultry, that is a customer of ours and has been for a long time, that translates to $20 million of savings per year. That's really where we're starting. the highest risk sources of food that you eat today is meat. And so that's where we focused our efforts. We have multiple signed letters of intent to purchase from some of the largest meat packers in the world, which translate to approximately $12 million in revenue. And then we'll expand down the food chain into beverages, packaged dairy, et cetera, and then into retail, so that Chipotle doesn't have another bad 4 days anytime soon. Two more things to emphasize on this slide. One is that all of these logos are active conversations that we are in today. They're not just examples. We are having these conversations with some of the biggest manufacturers, experts in food safety, because they all have the same problem that we uniquely can solve. So here's how we make money. It's pretty simple. You guys have seen it a bunch of different times. It's the razor and razor blade model with a little bit of an asterisk. Our razors are our Aladdin analyzers, which is this box. We sell it for about $2,000. That translates to roughly 1/10 of the cost of the cheapest PCR machine on the market today. And we sell that at a low margin. Our high margin product is our razor, which is our reaction tubes. These are tubes that come pre-filled with our proprietary reagents, and they're consumable. So every test that you run, you use one of these. We sell those at a higher margin. The asterisk here is that we have a data platform. I talked a little bit about democratization of access to your data, so you have full visibility upstream and downstream as a food producer. So we sell this as a SaaS-based license with SaaS-based margins. This translates to first revenues next year. A couple years afterwards, we're expecting to be EBITDA positive. And then by the end of 2028, we're expecting about 50 million ARR, 12 of which is already committed with our early customers. Now, I'm biased, but I think that we have a really strong team. Led by my dad, so Dr. Bruno Jechtel launched the first $2 billion brands in animal health. That's why he has more gray hair than I do. Our Chief Scientific Officer, Terry, has launched over 30 highly regulated animal diagnostics and vaccines. And in a prior life, I scaled Ginkgo Bioworks' COVID testing technology platform from 0 to 250,000 tests every day at the height of the pandemic. 1 in every 10 tests that was run in the United States, I was responsible for. We also have a great team of advisors that represent everything from manufacturing to commercial to the science that's required for us to be successful. And while my dad and I are not natives here in New York, my sister did go to Syracuse, go Orange, and we've spent a lot of time here. This is a place that we think we can call our home. On the manufacturing side, we've talked to Julian at Unither and Mike at Ziaxis, who can manufacture both our tubes and our actual Aladdin analyzers. I don't know if you knew this, but New York is number 2 right behind California in terms of the volume of food processors in this region. And we have been talking to tons of customers who are all looking for the same thing, something that's rapid and accurate to make sure that there are no recalls down the road. From an incubation standpoint, we are today based in Illinois, and we're eagerly looking for our new home. And we think that at NextCore and at Cornell, we've found that. And finally, as we're looking for the future, from a product development standpoint, there's nowhere better than Cornell and RIT and Rochester to develop that next generation of food safety testing. We have a very clear path on how we'd utilize the capital to do that. So for $250,000 of that prize, we'd build our manufacturing facilities here and utilize the resources in this region to ship our product. So that translates to 2 direct jobs, 1 indirect job. With an additional $250,000, we would also create a hub of sales and marketing. Not just to sell to this region, which of course is massive, but to serve as a hub for the entire Northeast and Canada. And finally, with the $1 million prize, we look to develop the 2nd generation of our product here with the best minds in the business, translating to a total of 10 direct jobs and 5 indirect, highly paying STEM jobs here. So in conclusion, I want to just leave you with a few things. Hypercell has built a tool co-developed with our customers. This is not a solution looking for a problem to solve. This is a testing platform that has been rigorously tested throughout multiple pathogens and multiple sources. We have a business model that won't make you cry, very straightforward. We have direct customer need today with signed letters and a clear path to growth with a team who can do it. But really, at the end of the day, it comes down to our mission, which is we want to make our food safe, we want to build a home here, and we need your help to do that. So with that, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm going to bring the gray-haired version of me on stage, Dr. Bruno Jechtel, to answer questions.